Week update shows. Nick and I, just the two of us here for this one. We're going to take a look at the Red Talk Premier League, which now, as it stands, has 26 people in it and one to be added after the next points update. So we're going to have a look at the teams in it, where everyone's standing, and as well as some of the hot players and also some of the injuries that have rocked some of the teams over the last couple of weeks. First up, we're going to have a look at some of the best performers in the Red Talk Premier League. And number one is going particularly well, Nick.
Yeah, Geert Olofsson, who's a new inclusion in the league from the original 6 or 7
There's a few inclusions.
Participants that we had to start off with. He's currently sitting on 724 points, which is a pretty good effort considering that he's 3,531st, I think, out of roughly...
There's about 2.2 million people taking part, so it's no wonder that he's at the top of our league, because he's having a look at his team. He's at the top of many leagues, basically. So he's going extremely well, and he put in a 63 over the last game week. Some of the other big movers include Red Talk's very own Males. He's at Malay's Marvels team, put in a 75, and
which puts them up to 678 in the league, which is pretty good effort.
So he's in third place. He's going very nicely.
Yeah, considering where he started on the league. And down below that, in terms of the Red Talk participants, I'm coming next at 5th, which is a
Fail FC is not just failing by the look of it, because
pretty measly 655. But apart from that, next up we got Will, of course, who's Wags Wizards. He's sitting on 636, so not a bad performance from the Red Talk crew so far.
Then the next one from Red Talk is myself, and I started okay in the first week and then went pretty much south directly after that, and climbing back a bit with a few solid weeks. So I got a 49, which given the week just gone was actually a decent score. So I've moved up to 10th, and then coming last out of Red Talk was the man who was quick to brag after the first week.
And Josh claims not to care. Josh sitting down there in 17th with the Giblins Gumbies, and I think they're sitting on 572. So you're not going too good, Josh, but I'm sure you don't really care, do you?
If he has a few good weeks, then maybe he'll claim to be caring again, but we'll see how it goes. Now I'm going to have a look at the leaders in each position for the Fantasy Premier League, and we're going to start at the back with goalkeepers. Now, in number one position is Joe Hart, who obviously benefited from a great season on loan at Birmingham, and has nudged Shay Given out of the way at Manchester City. And despite being from the noisy neighbours who we don't like too much, I have to say I've got nothing but admiration for Joe Hart, and I think he's a hell of a keeper.
He's your keeper now, isn't he?
No, I've got Foster that I'm thinking about getting him in next week.
Yeah, I've got Ben
I made
Foster.
my 2 trades, so I can't get him in.
It's hard to look away from Foster with his price at 4.9 and 57 points so far. I think that you can't really look away from him as far as I'm concerned, because I don't really like to build my team from the back when it comes to that. Specifically not from the goalkeeper. I don't think the goalkeeper position is specifically important or that pivotal in your fantasy Premier League team. So I always go for the cheaper keeper that tends to pull off the most saves, because that's of course where most of the points come from.
Of course, Peter Cech is number 2, but he's 6.7, so 0.1 more than Joe Hart. So you'd be wondering why you would get him in. I suppose the fact that he's been proven before, maybe one reason.
Reputation really plays a big part in their costing, especially at the start of the season. Hence, I dare say that his price was probably up more around the 7, and it's probably just dropped down from the dubious start of the season that Chelsea really had.
Well, you have to say, when you're looking at transfers and you go in and you're thinking, okay, I've got this much money, who am I going to go with? It's not always just whoever you don't have at the top, who's got the most points. Sometimes you go a bit lower because they're an established name that's been proven season after season.
Yeah, well, you've also got to look at the fixture run and the injuries for the team. I think Josh made a pretty good start to the season. He had Mignolet in goals for Sunderland because the starting keeper was injured, and he was probably 4.5, which is extremely cheap.
Yeah, definitely. Now in defence, we're going to start with Chelsea, and Chelsea, as we said before, is a popular team to get many players from. Obviously you can only choose 3, but a Chelsea player is the number 1 in defence, and that's Cole. He's cost 8.4, but has got 72 points, so if you had laid out a fair bit of money for a defender, let's be honest,
his price has gone up by probably about I mean, $500,000, and it's good investment. I've got him late on. I've paid the price, but he does. It's just the way he plays, the way he pushes on up that wing, and he's almost a defensive winger rather than a fullback, and that he just gets goals week in week out, and he's always in and around most of the action.
Yeah, well, he has been pushing forward, I think, a lot more this season than he has last season. So if he keeps going that way, then yeah, if you have bit the bullet like you, probably worthwhile. Vidic, we mentioned before, he's he was your captain for a while, was he?
Yeah, he was, just because of his consistent displays in the defence. Just out of the whole league, really, he's been performing probably most consistently in terms of a centre back. But yeah, his aerial threat at set pieces is really one of the big reasons that I've got him. And with United, most of the time you'd be hoping that they keep a clean sheet and win the game. So they're extra points that build on, and the fact that having him as captain doubles his points is just no-brainer for me.
Definitely, and the fact that Ferdinand's come back recently also means that he's going a lot better lately.
He's got a lot more freedom.
And he's got the confidence, and that's why he's going forward a set piece. You know, Rio staying back.
Anchoring in the middle, yeah.
So he can go forward and kind of know that he's got his partner in crime back there to cover him, so to speak. Some of the other players, Ridgewell, he's quite a bargain, 5.5. He's the third best defender at the moment. I just recently got him in from Birmingham. I can't remember if I traded out, but I've got him in and hoping he's going to keep going the way he is. For 58 points for the price he is a bargain,
yeah,
really.
It is a bargain, but there's a few things I suppose you have to watch out. The pulsing in form, that he can go through the ups and downs, and the fact that he does play for Birmingham, and he's a defender, so that's the main risk there, that they're going to concede a few goals.
Indeed, I'm going to take that risk and hope that the fact he's got that little star next to him at the moment will not disappear anytime soon. And as we mentioned, Terry before from Chelsea, who's out for an undetermined amount of time with yet another injury. But when he is back, despite the fact we and other United fans and most other fans who don't go for Chelsea don't really like him, the fact that he's so consistent and seems to pop up with headers and even strikes is the reason that you'd probably get him in your team otherwise.
Yeah, definitely.
Ivanovic is another one from Chelsea. They seem to have a few, well, they've got about 3 out of the top 6 or so defenders. He's only 7 and he's scored quite well so far as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting how the Chelsea defence cope with the spat of injuries that have just really occurred. We've talked about Terry being injured, and it's just broken that Alex could be facing up to 8 weeks on the sideline. So it's going to be interesting how they manage that hole in the middle there.
Turning to midfield now, the number 1 player earning the most points is Nani from United, which is definitely good to see. Yeah,
it's really a testament to his form this year that even though it has been up and down, that when he does come to play, he really does put the points on the board in terms of Fantasy Premier League. And next up behind Nani, of course, we've talked about him previously in this episode, Malouda, who's really having a breakthrough season at Chelsea. Had a pretty good season last year, and the season before that he's really been building up to this one.
He's a bit more expensive than Nani, 1.4 million if you go by that. But yeah, he has been quite solid, but 10 points less than Nani. So if you have got Nani, if you had to choose between one or the other, at this stage you'd probably go Nani, especially with our injuries to our wingers. He's going to be starting most games.
Unless of course you don't already have them both starting in your team. But of course, a surprise inclusion at number 3 is Kevin Nolan from Newcastle. Many people probably with them just being promoted from the Championship, although they are, one of the favourites to stay up. They wouldn't have put Nolan in their starting 11 or anywhere near the top 3, really.
No, well, someone who's coming third in our league who did do that and got quite a bit of stick. An episode where I was not here, I don't think. It was when the rest of you...
I might have to issue a few apologies to males for twisting the knife a bit when it comes to Kevin Nolan. I think it's more to do with my just blatant dislike of his personality rather than his ability or form itself.
Well, personality you've got to put aside because players like, especially some of the Newcastle players, you might not like Joey Barton or Andy Carroll, but they might play well. So their forms can't be ignored.
It's hard not to like Joey Barton, isn't it?
Well, if you don't, he might put a cigar in your eye.
Or a fist in your chest. So.
Exactly, and after coming in number 4 is a player that we quite like being Australian, is Timmy Cahill's having one of his best seasons on record for a while.
Well, for the last couple of seasons he's probably been Everton's most consistent performer, and previously it was Mikel Arteta, but he's really been hampered by injury the last couple of years. We've seen him come back into the side, of course, and they'll be looking to link up that brilliant midfield / attacking midfield partnership of Arteta and Cahill.
Definitely. And for Blackpool, Adam is 5.7 and is the 5th best of the midfielders. So at the moment, if you're looking to get someone in or someone's injured, he might be the way to go. Maybe not a long term because he plays for
or even a substitute at that price. And it shows what the season's been like at the moment. And if you look at the league table, you can see that we've got Bolton coming in at 5th. I think you can see if you have a look on the Premier League website, of course. But yeah, it's a surprise season. There's been some, not so much in terms of the top of the table, but the middle and the lower half. It's really, the teams are just sorting themselves out at the moment. And as the season progresses, we'll see it really define who's in the race to stay up and who's in the race.
There was something like a couple of points between 5th and 11th. Josh was saying the other day. So
yeah, so it's really going to be later on in the season. We'll see the race to survive relegation and the race for those Europa League spots really heat up.
Definitely. Someone I just got in was Gareth Bale in midfield after his form recently, and the fact he's priced at 6.9 is a pretty consistent performer. The other person I've got in midfield actually is Rafael van der Vaart, who's gone nearly as well. So they're two.
Yeah, they're both really
two Tottenham players you'd probably think about getting in.
Tearing through at the moment, tearing their way up the midfield ranks.
Definitely, they've both been just scoring very consistently in Premier League and other competitions. Not that helps much, but good to see their form continuing. Lastly, we're going to talk about strikers, and a player that's sitting atop the standings is Andy Carroll.
What a player!
Who probably wouldn't have expected to be at this time of the season.
No, well, Newcastle's start the season have really surprised a lot of people, and he's been at the forefront of their attack. And yeah, him at the top of the strikers is no surprise really to me. Just his pedigree that he's got is something that people have probably doubted in recent years when he's been younger and less disciplined rather with his displays.
He's certainly an aerial threat, but also if you have a look at his cost, he's quite cheap. I think he was even cheaper at the start of the season when I got him in, and he's 6 at the moment, and he's got 1 point more than Didier Drogba, who's next with 13.1. So he's
there's a bit
less
of a
than
difference
half the price.
You'd never question Drogba's pedigree, would you? Especially with that price and his history. It's just he's another no-brainer for most fantasy Premier League teams.
Definitely, and even third is probably...
third would be a big surprise, I reckon. Johan Elmander, of course, he's been banging in the goals this season, but he does have a bit of trouble scoring at home, but away he just really loves scoring away goals.
Certainly does, and then number 4 is Tevez, and number 5 Berbatov, who started so brightly, but it's gone about 10 or 11 games without a goal.
Yeah, he's slowed down considerably since the start of the season, but we've talked about this in previous Red Talk episodes, that he of course didn't have a World Cup to compete at over the off season, and he really looks like he's been training hard and he's fixed a lot of his mental game up, especially rather than the actual playing aspect.
Certainly. Thanks for watching our Fantasy Premier League update on the Red Talk Fantasy Premier League and just the Fantasy Premier League in general. Remember to watch Red Talk. We'll be filming an episode after the Wigan game on the weekend, and it'll be up in the next day or so after that one. And before we go, we'll just leave you with the table for the Red Talk Fantasy Premier League, and we'll catch you next time on Red Talk.